Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Well Versed. I'm your host, Layman, and today we're going to do a solo episode of me just talking to you guys about what I'm going through, what I've been thinking about lately, what I've been learning, and hopefully you guys can take something away from this. Yeah, just dropping some gems that are going to be formulated in a disorganized manner, so don't come for me. But yeah, so the past couple of months have been really interesting for me. I've been in between jobs. I just found out that in between jobs doesn't mean what I thought it means. So why I don't know why I just use that. I thought it meant that you are going to start another job, so you're in between them. But my friend just told me that means you don't have a job. I left my previous job in tech. I worked in product, and I'm starting a new job in tech, but I've had some time in between. And as I've had some time in between, I've started to do a lot of creative projects, this podcast being one of them that I've wanted to start for so long. I've started connecting with different people outside of like that corporate tech space. Basically, I've started to defrost and become more human. And through all the people that I've been meeting and all the people I've been connecting with, I've just started to really see and learn from so many interesting people. And I've also started to reflect on myself and how I've approached a lot of situations in life, whether that's like dating, relationships, my dreams, my creative projects, whatever it may be, career. And I started to realize that there's a lot of things in common with people that I've come across that are extremely successful. And that is that they're willing to go out there and do anything they have to do to get what they want, and they don't care how people perceive them. And that's been my biggest problem is I used to care so much about perception. And I would say now that I've gotten a little bit older, I don't care as much, but I can definitely say the past 2 years, I've really cared about how I'm perceived and how my words come off to people, whether it's my coworkers, whether it's friends, whether it's romantic relationships, it doesn't really matter. And so today's episode, I wanted to talk about the power of being cringy. And when I say cringy, I don't know if that's the word we want to use, but basically what I'm saying is when I say feeling cringe, ultimately it's nothing more than the discomfort of being vulnerable and being exposed, and why we feel so uncomfortable being that. This may come in so many forms, whether you're, looking to build a social media presence and you want to have an online presence or a business. Maybe you want to say something at work. Maybe you want to achieve your goals at work. You want to get a promotion, or maybe you want to stand out and you said something in a meeting and you're thinking about it over and over again. Or maybe you have a new business venture that you want to pitch. Whatever it is, really, having that feeling of restraint or feeling cringe is completely normal, but it holds us back from reaching our full potential. And what you should really know about this, and what I'm going to kind of want to get clear today in this episode, is that doing things that give us that exact feeling of like awkwardness or feeling cringy or feeling just silly. The things we avoid out of fear of looking dumb, for example, are exactly the things that lead us to success. And the people who ultimately win in life are those who are willing to be seen before they're perfect. So I've been reflecting on this a lot, and I had to think about where this comes from. And I was just like, why do I fear cringe? Why do I fear cringe? Why do I feel like I don't want to be perceived by other people? And I kind of had to break it down a little bit. And it comes down to a couple of things that I think a lot of us experience. The first one is called the spotlight effect. And basically, this is the idea that people are paying way more attention to us than they actually are. And honestly, I'm guilty of this. I mean, like, literally, I go to the gym and I'm just like, why is everyone staring at me? They're obsessed. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, I go to the gym and I'm literally thinking everybody's watching me and what I'm doing. And I've been going to the gym for years, like I'm a gym girl. And yet sometimes I still feel like people are watching me. But the truth is, no one is watching you, girl. Nobody gives a fuck about what you're doing. And that's the harsh truth. And then I think the other part that plays into this as well is we just have a fear of standing out. I think this is evolutionary psychology. Like, we can go all the way back where, everybody wants to be accepted and fit in with groups. And, we just want to fit in and not stand out. But essentially, people who get the furthest are the ones who are willing to not fit in and they're willing to stand out. And, if you're fearful of standing out, that's going to be translated in, not speaking up at work, not posting online, not trying the thing, because deep down you're fearing rejection. and rejection still feels like a threat. But playing it safe keeps you stagnant. And so we really need to shift our mind that feeling cringe isn't a sign to stop. And we really need to shift our mindset to just know that feeling cringe isn't a sign to stop. It's actually a sign of growth. And the more cringy things we do, again, cringy things that we do, the more normalized it becomes and the more confident you eventually become anyway. So that's something to keep in mind. And so you're kind of wondering, okay, why are you telling me that I need to be more cringy? Like, that's so weird. I don't want to be cringy. But avoiding that cringe feeling is what keeps you stuck. And there's so many examples of this, like at work, oh my God, in dating and your social life. I could go on forever and I could give you guys examples, but I'll definitely start with work because a lot of us are working in corporate. I work in corporate. I worked in tech. I used to overthink everything I did, from the messages I sent to the conversations that I had to what I said in meetings. Everything was so thought out, and I always didn't want to seem like I was too much. I always wanted to like dim my light. But then I would always see coworkers who would be half as good, or coworkers who weren't afraid to speak up and do the cringy thing, they'd get so far, right? And so this kind of shows up in many ways. If you aren't willing to do the cringy thing, you're not going to get the promotion, you're not going to get recognized. We all want the promotion, we all want to get recognized. So some of the things that you may be doing at work or not be doing is like putting yourself out there. I thought that everybody at my job should know what I'm doing because that's what I'm here to do. And to be honest with you, especially in remote, but even in hybrid or even in office, people don't know what you're doing, even if they've read your document 10 times. They have no idea what's going on. So when you talk to your boss's boss, it's super important for you to constantly talk about the stuff you're doing. Like every one on one is a time for you to shine. It's your Oscar, it's your moment. You're going to get on stage and you're going to be like, I'd like to thank me. Okay, no, but you know what I mean? Like, you need to go into your one on ones and you need to talk about all the things that you're doing and you need to be proud of it and you need to say it frequently and often. You need to send the Slack updates, the Teams updates, the messages, the summaries. Like, I used to think that was so cringe. I would never send more than one or two updates because I'd be like, everyone read it, no one wants to see it again. And I had a coworker who literally got promoted every 9 to 12 months for 5 years straight. And I asked him, I was like, how are you doing this? How are you getting promoted so often? He was like, every Monday, I think about ways to put myself in front of the most important people. So every Monday, he'd jot down ways and opportunities for him to be visible. And some of us look at that visibility as being cringe. Like some of us feel awkward with the visibility. And so I say that all to say is that if you're working at a job right now and you're sort of dimming your light because you don't want to be overkill or you don't want people to perceive you as too much, let it go. You want to be too much, you want to be overkill. You want to be that person. And honestly, this is just part of playing the corporate game. So do that thing that feels overkill because it's probably going to get you far. And especially to the ladies listening, men can experience this as well, but especially to the ladies, if you get an opportunity for a job or something or a project and you're like, I'm not good enough, I don't have all the skills, you should do it. And not only should you do it, you should tell your boss you're going to kill it and you're going to be amazing and you're going to succeed and like literally just be overkill in everything that you do. That's like my advice. So in the workplace, when it comes to feeling cringy, don't feel it at all. It's going to be hard to get over, but I do things where I plan out all my updates. I plan out all the stakeholder stuff. I plan out all the things that I want to say in meetings and I want to be clear on where I want to be visible. I make sure every meeting I want to talk at the beginning and I want to be the last. Like, you need to do all of that, and that's ultimately going to get you far. So just think about it in that way. If you're not cringe or you're not being cringe, speaking up in meetings, there's no recognition, there's no promotion. So yeah. Another one that is very common is in dating. And I think dating is an interesting one because we're kind of in this weird era where everybody's like being too cool to show their feelings or make the first move or just be vulnerable with people because it's so cringy, it's so awkward. And it's like, what are they going to think about me? How are they going to perceive me? He's going to think I'm too much. She's going to think I'm so extra. She's going to think I'm a simp. All this ridiculous, stupid shit. Do the cringy thing in dating. Put yourself out there. Adults communicate. People go for what they want. If you want something out of a situation, go for it. If you want to know something, ask about it. If you need something, ask for it. If you have boundaries, tell them. If you have something specifically you're looking for, say it. Don't be afraid to speak up and say the thing because you end up playing so many games trying to figure out if someone is into you and if they're a good match. And oftentimes, so much is left unsaid in dating that we could easily be vulnerable and open about because we don't want to appear cringe. And I don't have time. I don't care how it's perceived because honestly, it's me. And I think you should go for what you want and say what you're thinking. And truthfully, if someone reacts negatively to your forwardness or your vulnerability or your cringy comments or whatever in dating, they're probably not someone you want to date anyway. So think of it as a feedback loop for you to find the right person. Another one is in our social lives, right? I see a lot of online comments on people feeling like it's really hard to make friendships in today's like digital age or whatever you want to say, IRL. But I think the truth of the matter is we've become so accustomed to being stuck to our phones that we don't actually realize how we should be connecting with people and the very ways that you usually would connect with someone, like on the playground when you were 5 years old. We don't do that anymore. Think about all the small interactions you have day to day where you don't speak to someone and you could in your apartment building, when you're grabbing coffee, in an elevator, anything. I think that we're obviously very, very limited. And I guess we sort of look at these things as not normal anymore. And they used to be so normal before. For me, like when I moved to New York, everyone that I knew that lived here had moved away. And so when I moved here, it was kind of a weird time. It's like I moved in, everyone moved out. And I knew like a couple of people. So I basically would talk to everybody and anybody. I would challenge myself to talk to strangers. The feeling that I had, very cringy. Today, now, I could talk to anybody, let's be real. But I thought it was so, so cringy. But I would talk to people in the elevator. I would go get coffee, talk to the person making my coffee. And I'd challenge myself to talk to like 10, 15 people a week. And I met so many cool and interesting people because I put myself out there. I would talk to them and, ask them how they're doing. I would maybe speak to myself, which requires you to be a bit vulnerable, say, this is what I do for work. This is what I'm into. How's your day going? What brings you here? What are you excited about? What are you working on that's interesting lately? Because people don't really like to talk about work. What are you excited about lately? Just having casual conversations with people and forcing yourself to put your phone down. If that's something, if you think to yourself and you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, that's so awkward, I can't do that, that's an area for you to work on because it's super important for you to stay connected with people. And trust me, as cringy as it feels, you'll be so happy for the type of community you start to build when you put your phone down, you talk to people, you put yourself out there in a way that's vulnerable, in a way that is outside of your comfort zone. Something to think about. The last thing that, deserves cringy behavior that we're not really paying attention to and it kind of keeps people stuck is, our personal projects. This is the most important thing. Like, creative projects, business ventures, the things that we want to do, the passions that we want to pursue outside of maybe corporate jobs that we have, or our plan A may not even be your plan B, whether it's starting the YouTube channel, building an online presence, putting together your, like starting a startup or building an app or whatever. A lot of us don't want to do these things because we don't want to be judged and we don't want people to look at us, to perceive us. We feel very awkward about it. And here's the funny thing in all of that is so many people want the final result, but they don't want to be willing to put in the work to get there. And to get that final result, you need to be putting in the work. And part of putting in the work is slowly building out your vision for something and being consistent. And we often limit ourselves from doing the very things that we want to do. And I've been guilty of this before too, because we're so worried about the opinions of other people. I was actually talking to a friend about this recently. To give you guys context on her, she is someone I admire. She also works in tech. She's in product. She's currently building out a dating app, which is so exciting. She's also writing her first book, which is so exciting. She's had so many projects in the past, and she told me a story about a friend of hers, or not even a friend, an acquaintance, because a real friend wouldn't do this. An acquaintance of hers or someone she knew from way back who made a comment about her to someone else and was like, oh my gosh, like she always has all these projects and she doesn't get far with her projects. And I thought that was so interesting because the most irrelevant people to anything that you're doing are always the ones who have the loudest opinions. And people who criticize people who shamelessly try things and fail are the same people who've never started a damn thing in their entire life. Again, people who criticize people who shamelessly try things and fail are the same people who've never started a damn thing in their life. They're the ones who I call what ifs. They're like, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if I did this? What if I did that? Or I was thinking about doing this 10, 15, 20 years ago, but they never do it. But they're always going to have an opinion on something that you're doing because they are intimidated and because they are scared and they would never try the thing themselves. So, something to always keep in mind is before you let the idea of other people's opinions stop you, think about whose opinion really matters because everything that you've ever wanted is on the other side of that cringe. And honestly, let's be real, probably every single successful person, whether it's business, entertainment, whatever it is, they've probably had to do so many cringy things consistently to get where they are. Let's be real. And we don't hear a lot of these stories because every successful person has a story of like, I worked hard and I got here and these were the results. But they don't talk about the embarrassing times they've experienced or the rejections that they've experienced along the way and how they've constantly fought that and how they've constantly put themselves out there. You don't really hear those stories at all. Something that comes to mind that's so niche is, does anyone remember DJ Khaled in the 2000s? I remember this video. I was like a kid and my parents didn't want me to watch it, but it was like the DJ Khaled holding the umbrella for Lil Wayne in the Make It Rain video, and he's like hyping him up. He's a hype man. Today, someone would watch that and probably be like, "Oh, that's so cringe." But where's DJ Khaled today? DJ Khaled has worked with some of the most successful musical producers and artists. He brings so many people together on these really successful hit records, and he's worth millions. And he wasn't too good to hold Lil Wayne's umbrella in the rain. And at some point, back in that time, Lil Wayne was the star, DJ Khaled was the guy that was holding the umbrella. And today, he's the one who brings all the stars together. And if he thought that was too cringe and he never did that, that's not a kind of attitude that gets you where you need to go. Is that a really niche example? Yes. But if you guys go search this Make It Rain video and you go watch it, it's kind of cute, like to see him holding his umbrella. But my point is that so many successful people have had to do really cringy things to get where they are. So whenever you kind of feel like you can see the final result, the vision of what you want and how you want to get there, always make sure you include the part that is the experiences of rejection, the experiences of putting yourself out there and feeling that cringe and feeling that awkwardness, but still pushing through it because it's important and that's how you're going to get where you need to go. I think that's the most important thing is how do you reframe and push through it? And so here are some like practical ways that I've written down for you to embrace the cringe. So 1, start before you're ready. Oh my gosh. This is something we refer to in tech. It's just like build and fail quickly and learn from it. This is not a tech podcast, but generally start before you feel ready because readiness is literally a myth. When you think about it, we always say, oh, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And then if you ask yourself what it takes to be ready, you actually can't quantify or define that. So why are we chasing this myth of readiness when it's not even a real thing? If you just start before feeling ready, you will improve and you will get better at what you're doing. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. The second thing is to reframe cringe as a sign of your growth. So if you look back and you're starting to feel embarrassed about things you've done, that's proof that you're improving and that means you should keep going. And then the third thing is thinking of cringy things as an opportunity to get feedback. So if you didn't do it, you wouldn't learn from it and you'd be in the exact same place. So would you rather be in the exact same place or would you rather do something, see if it sticks? If it doesn't, go on to the next thing. Learning helps you move forward and become better. So when you think of like the cringy actions or behaviors or the things that you want to do, but you just not sure if you should do them, it doesn't hurt to try and you can always adjust later. 4, which is super important, is surrounding yourself with people who celebrate your effort. If you have haters in your circle, or people who bring you down, or people who project, or people who have a negative comment every time you have an idea, or just people who are not in your corner, 1, get rid of them. 2, if you can't get rid of them, don't involve those types of people in your journey because they're not going to help you. And if anything, they're more negative than good. So make sure to surround yourself with people who celebrate your efforts and are also not trying to convince you to chase this perceived idea of perfection. And then the last and final one that I constantly tell myself every single day, realize that no one actually gives a shit. Nobody cares. It's the harsh truth, but it's extremely freeing. So, yeah, those are my tips on how to reframe cringe and push through it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening. And hopefully, it inspires you to do something outside of your comfort zone this week.